короче, это фристайлим чуть-чуть. Короче, у нас...
Блін, я так ударилася, капець. Маріна, я ударилась. Я ударилась. Ногой. Поки біжала.
Welcome and happy Sabbath. Please stand as we worship together. Our first song will be Made for More.
I know who I am, 'cause I know who you are. The cross of salvation was only the start. Now I am chosen, free and forgiven. I have a future, and it's worth the living. 'Cause I wasn't made to be tended in a grave. I was called by name, born and raised back to life again. I was made for more. So why would I make a bed in my shame when a fountain of grace
is running my way. I know I am yours, and I was made for more. I know who I am, 'cause I know who you are. The cross of salvation was only the start. Now I am chosen, free and forgiven. I have a future, and it's worth the living. 'Cause I wasn't made to be tending the grave. I was called by name, born and raised back to life again. And I was made for more. So why would I make a bed in my shame when a fountain of grace is running my way? I know I am yours, and I was made for more. Hallelujah. You called out my name, so I'll sing out your praise. Hallelujah. You buried my past, and I'm not going back. Hallelujah. You called out my name, so I'll sing out your praise. Hallelujah. You buried my past, I'm not going back. 'Cause I wasn't made to be tending the grave. I was called by name, born and raised back to life again. I was made for more. So why would I make a bed in my shame when the fountain of grace is running my way? I know I am yours. I was made for more.
Our next song will be, it's a new song that I don't think we've sang in church yet. And we found this song and we decided we want to introduce it to you guys. It's a little more upbeat, but it's a beautiful song. So if you know the song, please sing along with us. And if not, we hope you can learn it. It's called Gracefully Broken.
Take all I have in these hands and multiply, God, all that I am, and find my heart on the altar again. Set me on fire, set me on fire. Take all I have in these hands and multiply, God, all that I am, and find my heart on the altar again. Set me on fire, set me on fire. Here I am, God, arms wide open, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. My heart stands in awe of your name. Your mighty love stands strong to the end. You will fulfill your purpose in me. You won't forsake me. You will be with me. Here I am, God, arms wide open,
Wide open.
pouring out my life, gracefully broken. Here I am, God, arms wide open, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. All to Jesus now.
Oh, to Jesus now.
All to Jesus now. Holding nothing back.
Holding nothing back.
Holding nothing back.
I surrender.
I surrender all that I am. I surrender. I surrender. I surrender. I surrender. Your power at work in me. I'm broken gracefully. I'm strong when I am weak. I will be free. Your power at work in me. I'm broken gracefully. I'm strong when I am weak. I will be free. Your power at work in me. I'm broken gracefully. I'm strong when I am weak. I will be free. Your power at work in me. I'm broken gracefully. I'm strong when I am weak. I will be free. Here I am, God, arms wide open, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. Sing it again. Here I am. Here I am, God, arms wide open, pouring out my life, gracefully broken.
You may be seated.
Sorry, I was told there was special music. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Vespers. Thank you so much, Michelle. That makes my heart very warm. Could you guys hear her? Yes? No? So, say it again, Michelle, nice and loud.
Good morning, teacher.
Every time I walked into a classroom and I said hi to the children, it didn't matter which classroom it was, the children would look at me and say, "Good morning, teacher," even though I wasn't their teacher. I think that you guys should do that for your teachers every day. Thank you. And they stand up, that's exactly right. Yep. Good morning, teacher.
Good morning, teacher. Good morning, teacher.
I love it. You guys can't be trained. We can make this happen for the rest of the school year. Thank you. All right. I think we're going to get started with prayer, and then we'll get started sharing our experiences with India.
Let's bow down, guys. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for the opportunity to come together for Vespers. We thank you also for Sabbath and for what you've created for us in the Sabbath. Lord, as we gather tonight, I just pray that you would bless each one by what we have to share about our trip to India. Lord, we were blessed, and the people who were there were a blessing, and I just pray, Lord, that you can help us to convey some of that tonight. We ask for your presence. We ask for the filling of your Holy Spirit. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, so I think everyone sitting in here in the sanctuary with us knows who we are, but those of you who may be joining us at home and may not know who we are, my name is Dannia. I am one of the staff members here at Milo, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go on this mission trip. I actually had been asked to go on a mission trip a couple of years ago, and my passport was getting ready to expire, and I said, I'm not sure if I want to tackle all of the loops that I have to jump through to make this mission trip happen, but when you go to India, I'd love to go. And Pastor Tom said, well, we are wanting to go to India, so I will keep in mind that you want to go. So I was very thankful when he remembered that and invited me along on the trip to India.
And getting the passport was the easy part.
That's true.
It was the visas that were a little more complicated, as you guys all know. But
Introduce yourself.
I am Miss Danna's husband, Jeff. I teach here at Milo as well, as all of you guys know. And we have a special guest with us tonight. Who's this?
Tell us who you are.
My name's Tobi.
See that, Tobi? Everybody loves you. He was a little bit nervous about coming up here. So anyway, Tobi's our son, our youngest.
And he has a microphone in hand, so we'll see what happens this evening. So going to India, some of you may know, is something that has been on a bucket list for me for a long time. It's a culture that I have been fascinated with since I was younger than you guys. And so it was amazing to be able to put together not only going and learning more about the culture, but also being able to go on a mission trip and being able to serve God and other people in this capacity. And being able to drag my family along was a good thing. We weren't sure at first how many of us were going to go, but we even convinced Tobi that it would be a great thing to do. And he waffled a little bit on enthusiasm, but eventually decided, yes, I want to do this. Even the airplane ride, right? Can you tell me a little bit about the airplane ride? Did you enjoy it? Was it scary? Are you going to talk while you're up here or no? You don't know? All right. We'll see if we get any answers out of him, but
Tobi, look, they're as embarrassed as you are because they're not talking either.
that's true. All shared, but again, giving our perspective and our aspect of the time that we spent over there and the things that we were able to do. So, first impressions of India.
My first impression, I think, was when we landed in Delhi. You know how when you land in different places and you walk through the airplane door, sometimes something hits you. It was humid. We're not used to the same level of humidity, and it was hot. And there was this smell in the air, and I don't really...
9:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
Something like that, I think.
9:30, 10 a.m., somewhere in there. But India has a smell, and I don't know that I can describe it exactly, other than it's initially not pleasant. You kind of get used to it. And it's this mix of trash and humidity and tropical plants, I suppose. I don't know, tropical something. But that was my first impression. I thought, oh, this is a different place. I have never been in a place like this before. So that was my first impression.
I know, as we were walking out of the airport in Delhi, now realize when we were in Delhi the first time, we were getting ready to get on another airplane to get to the opposite side of the country, because Delhi is on the west side, and we were doing most of our time on the east side of India. But we still had to walk out of the airport to get to another, what do we call the terminal? A completely separate building where we were going to get on some smaller planes for flying across the country.
Kind of a domestic part of the terminal instead of the international part.
Yeah, my first impression, especially as we walked out those doors, is there were just lines of people, and I would say 80% of the women were in saris, but all of the people were in bright colors, and so just all of these colors. And then there were also, I think there were quite a few people in uniform as well, right as we were walking out of the airport.
Yeah, I think their police wear fatigues, and so you don't really know whether you're looking at military people, officials, or police. It's kind of one and the same, and they tend to do all the important things, whether it's checking your passports or going through your baggage or whatever it is. It's always somebody in fatigues, and so you get and there's plenty of rifles being carried around as well. So pretty much all the strategic places, there's somebody carrying a rifle, and so you get this feeling like, I'm going to do exactly what I should.
Yes. Good choice. Anyway, so we headed into the airport, kept going across the country until we landed in Assam, which is the state, and Guwahati is the city that we landed in. And then we had a 4-hour drive about by bus.
You missed a stop. We stopped on the way to Assam.
But we don't have to give all of the stops.
But that stop was a significant point. So they don't have TSA, they have PSA, and I don't know what P stands for, but it's the same thing as our TSA. And what we decided was that maybe some of the things we had in our bags are not the same things they're generally used to seeing. And so I had charging equipment and camera equipment and electronics, even some rechargeable flashlights, and a mechanical pencil with a metal barrel, and I was told in London that pencil looked dodgy. They didn't like it. They had to dig through all my bag to see what that pencil was. But so in India, we had to, so in India, in the second stop on our way to Assam, we ended up having to go out of the security area and go back in again. And none of us really know why, but that's the way they routed us. And so it took us about an hour, and we had about 45 minutes to get on the plane and leave. That might not be accurate, but that's what it seemed like. And the security guys were not in a hurry in any way. They had all day, and they were going to take all day. And finally, I told them, I need to go. That's my plane they're calling for. And they're like, oh, okay. And so they started going through my stuff, and they're still not really hurrying. And everything I had was fascinating to them. And they were smiling and showing each other, hey, look at this. I don't know what they were saying, but I was like, they're making fun of me. I'm sure they're doing this to make me late. I mean, that's how it felt. Malachi told me later that that was not true. They were just curious. So I was probably making up their emotions in my head. But even the rechargeable flashlights, they're like shining it at each other, like, oh, this one works. So I don't know what it was, but it was fascinating to them. And I finally got my point across, like, I'm going to miss the airplane. They're like, oh, okay. And so they just shoved all the stuff in and said, go, run. And I'm like, I can't run with this pile. So I had to pack it all away as fast as I could go and ran to the airplane. And they're like, get on. I'm like, I'm trying. But, so that was stressful. That was the second impression I had of India. But anyway, then we went on to Assam,
Yes.
very close to our destination.
And after many, many hours of travel and not very good sleep on the airplane, though some of you might have slept better than what I did. Tobi slept much better than what I did, thankfully. We finally made it to where we were going to stay, which was Riverside Adventist School, Adventist Academy. That is the union school there where we were, and we stayed there for 3 or 4 nights before we moved over, as other people have shared, to the school. Tobi, would you stand up for me and turn around, please? So he was given a shirt. The kids wear uniforms there, and their uniforms were maroon and blue that they wore most of the week, but I think Wednesday they all showed up in these bright orange and blue shirts. You may sit down now.
It was a little more casual for Wednesday because that was their market day.
Yeah. And so they all had those, and the principal, Miss Annie's sister, her and her husband, I know all of the kids didn't get one because our kids are bigger than what those kids are. But Tobi was small enough, he was able to get one, and I'm pretty sure that Miss Wendy over here was small enough that she got one too. Is that true, Wendy? What? Wendy, I just pulled it out. Okay, thank you. And Nathan, did you get one? I can't see where Nathan is. Yes, you did, okay. So some of our smaller people got the school shirts, and I think the 2 boys will probably outgrow those. I don't know if Wendy is going to outgrow hers or not.
Thanks, Miss Dannia.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're just petite. It's okay. Anyway, so being there, finally making it so that we could be horizontal while we were sleeping. I think the first thing that I realized, though, as we were going horizontal that first night to be able to sleep and not be cramped up in an airplane chair, was that they like firm beds. And I like a firm bed too, but culturally over there, their bed is not firm, it's almost a board.
When we bought our mattress, we bought the firmest one in the store. And it's like a pillow top, deep, lush, cushy bed compared to what they had there. I mean, it's like you sink in that much.
And that's, yeah, so truly, culturally, they just sleep on a much firmer platform than what we do when we sleep. And I sleep on my side, and I literally got bruises on both hips from sleeping on those very firm beds while we were there. It was nice to have a firm bed. When it's too soft, it hurts my back. So the firm was not hurting my back, but I was still getting bruises from it. So I think culturally, that was one of my big, wow, no one warned me about this one. Warned me about a lot of other stuff, but never warned me that the beds might not be quite what I was used to sleeping in. What about culturally for you guys? What were some ahas or moments that were like, whoa, this is different?
Well, before we go culture, we should, there's some nature things that are different. So in that place where we met the firm bed, we met a very large spider. Maybe one of the largest and fastest spiders I've ever met. And I didn't ask him his name because he was way too fast. So big that he made a sound when he walked across the window. It was a big spider. So And then there was a very large gecko as well.
A really, really good video of the spider. I chose not to put it up because the sound, there's a few people in the audience tonight that might not have appreciated me, having you guys hear them and their reactions to the spider.
Anyway.
The geckos. Tobi, you need to tell us about the geckos. Will you talk to us about the geckos?
I caught like 4 geckos.
Can you tell us anything else about them? How did you know they're
So
geckos?
anybody who doesn't know, geckos are small lizards, and they eat bugs. And where do they live over there, Toby?
The walls and the ceiling.
Where do they live?
In your house.
They do.
And how do you hear them when it's dark at night?
They squeal.
Well, they don't squeal. They make a chirp. It's a little bit like a frog, but maybe not quite the same.
Any of you that were there want to try and give us an impression of a gecko? It was pretty impressive. Joel thinks that Caden's pretty good at it. Caden, can you make the sound?
Anyway.
Somewhere between a chirp and a croak. I don't know. It's a fascinating sound, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. And once you hear it, you're going to hear it again and again. You wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning because that's when your body says it's time to wake up, and you hear the geckos.
But you're okay with it because you realize that there's a little bit smaller chance that fast spider will crawl over you in the night because the geckos are there to eat it.
That's true. That's true. I was not worried about spiders crawling because the geckos definitely were going to take care of all of the other insects that might be out and about in the night. Toby, you want to share anything more about the geckos?
There was also birds that were great alarm clocks. They weren't especially showy birds, but they were very musical. They were very vocal in their singing. And so as soon as there was any hint of daylight, they would start singing. And they were not quiet. They were very loud. We don't have a typical bird that's normally as loud as those birds were.
So that's kind of nature, culture type of things. What other culture things with the people stood out to you or made an impression on you?
So we got there on a Friday night, very late, and the next morning was Sabbath morning. We got a late start, missed Sabbath school. We went to church at Riverside Adventist School, which is, they've got a high school. It's what we would consider a 12th grade school. And that's not where we were helping, but that's where we started by staying because they had some guest houses that had been built by Maranatha quite some time ago. And so we went to church there, and Pastor Tom had the sermon there that first Sabbath morning. But even before we got there, while they were having, because the church chapel was the next building over from where we were staying. So for Sabbath school, we heard the singing, and it's hard to describe, but everybody was singing with their whole heart. And they're singing beautiful hymns, and it's a school of probably about 500 students, maybe 600, I don't even know. Do you guys know? 700. And every kid, I'm certain, by the sound of it, was singing from the bottom of their heart because they love Jesus. Like, there's no question when you heard it, they just love Jesus. And that was powerful.
And it was amazing, and not only there, but pretty much our whole time, every time singing with the group of, whichever congregation we were with, it was amazing to listen to them just sing. You would just like feel it and hear it just growing, and it would just pour out of them. I tried doing a video of it, but my phone doesn't do the most amazing sound. I mean, it did okay with sound. We're going to test it here in a little bit. I have a couple of videos that I'm going to share with you guys. But yeah, it was pretty amazing to listen to that.
They didn't use hymnals, and they didn't. Well, I guess they did have something on the screen, but they knew the songs by heart and just sung with everything they had. It was really amazing.
Something in the culture that really stood out to me, hospitality, and I think almost everyone has said something about that. And it wasn't it wasn't just the people that were feeding us, Miss Amy's family. We spent so much time with them, and they were all so kind and gracious to us all the time. But even when we were out and about, so even when we were shopping, the hospitality of the people, and some of it may have been just, people going, ooh, rich Americans, they're going to spend some money. But they were very gracious. They would offer you, you're standing here on this little booth, looking at things, and they're like, do you want chai? Do you want tea or water? In fact, our last day shopping, a couple of the girls and I were in the shop, and we spent 20 minutes in there probably choosing just the right sari or saris, because, it's important. They need to be the right color, the right fabric, and when there's a group of us, it took a while, and they had so many options to show us, and they wanted to show them all. And they offered us water, and we came back to stop because we had someone who just needed to make sure they were making the right decision. So they walked away from their sari then. We came back and got it later, and they offered us more water, and then students, and I don't know all of them, I think all of your group was there, which there were, 6 of you together? And since they realized they were part of our same group, they were offering, here, take water for the rest of your group. Literally, they got a case of water and brought it and are handing water out to everyone in our group that wanted water, even though we hadn't been shopping, not really at that point. But the hospitality, the graciousness was a pretty cool thing to be able to see as we were going through that. Not just with the people that we were there to serve, but also when we were out and about with other people.
Well, that cultural graciousness, I think me and the guys thought was going to get us killed the last day we were there. So the very last day we were in Delhi, before we flew out, we went up this one street that had quite a few very different shops, and we were maybe just finding a few things for gifts, and that was where they found the saris. And so the guys that I was with, so it was me.
We split up into groups.
We split into groups.
Just had to stay with staff, and we all went in different directions.
So I think it was me and Malachi and Caden and Joel and Nathan and Andrew, I believe. Is that what it was? Okay, they're saying my memory's right. So we went up in all these shops, and there was a couple things we still hadn't found yet. Somebody wanted to find a shirt and a leather belt. And we got to the end of this, well, it was actually 2 blocks, and we were just standing on the street corner looking around like, should we cross on to the other side? Is there anything worthwhile over there? What should we go back down and try and find it in these other shops that we'd already been in? We didn't think it was there. And there's this guy standing on the street corner, he says, something like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for something else? And he was dressed, I would say nice casual. He was clean cut and professional. And so I wasn't really put off by talking to him. And I said, yeah, we're looking for a shirt and a genuine leather belt. And he's like, oh, there's some shops over this way. And I know there's a place where you can find a belt, and I know there's a place you can find some shirts. He says, just follow me. And we said, okay, we'll follow him. He says, my name is Anin. And then my ears are bad, so I said it, I didn't get it right. He says, A-N-I-N, Anin. I said, okay, got it. So Anin and I started just bantering back and forth about things, and I found out he had 2 kids, a son and a daughter, and they're a little bit older than my boys. They're in their early 20s. But we got to the next block over, and there's an underpass under this busy street. And so we start going down these steps. At first I thought, okay, this is normal. We're going to the other side, only it's this busy street, so it's a safer way to go. And that was right, but the walls were painted this dark shade of brown, and it was underground, and it was all dark in there. And I quickly looked at the other guys, and I looked back at Anin, and I said, Anin, is it safe? I'm in this different place I've never been before. And he's like, oh yeah, it's safe, it's safe. And so we go down there, and we're underneath there, and there's 2 guys standing there. I said, Anin? He says, it's fine. And he tells these guys in his language, he's like, get out of the way, get out of the way. And so they're like, they move up against the wall, and we all just come through. And then there's another guy laying on the ground sleeping, maybe homeless probably, but the entire tunnel was very clean.
We have been told time you
Yeah.
keep them close to your body because pickpocketing is a real thing.
Especially if you're foreign.
Yeah, foreign, and so,
So
some game might be getting ready to...
I'm probably a little bit keyed up and too sensitive, but so we made it under the street and out, and I thought, whew, okay, made that, right? And then we found this amazing little belt shop, and the guys found their belts, and Anin stayed there, and he translated for us, and that was great. And they were unbelievably cheap for genuine leather belts. And then I said, okay, what about the shirt? And we're running out of time. We're supposed to meet back at the van in like 20 minutes. And he says, oh, this way, let's go this way. And Malik had already seen a place with shirts that he was interested in, and Anin trucked right on past. I said, Anin, was this it? Oh, no. He says, better selection over here. Because he told me he had a shop. And I didn't realize he was taking us to his shop for the shirts, but that's what ended up. And so all of a sudden he hangs a sharp left and goes between two buildings, and the whole space is like I could almost touch my shoulders on both sides, and they're like 4-story tall buildings. And India's got trash everywhere, and so there's trash. And it's dark in there, and the only sunlight's way up there, 4 stories high. And all of a sudden I look behind me, and all the guys, their eyes are like, what are we doing? Like, the 23rd Psalm, the valley of the shadow of death. Our faith was challenged in that moment. We're like, this guy's taking us to a dark alley somewhere to rob us and strip us and leave us. We're thinking, we're going to see this Good Samaritan parable right here, right now. And I'm thinking, this is so irresponsible. What I do if I took my boys through this, right? And I said, Anin. He says, no, come. And so we get out the back, and it gets even dirtier, but there's a few motorcycles, and then there's cars in the alleyway, and it's like the backside of these stores. And then we hang a right, and we go toward this even sketchier section, but there's a few kind of dirty stores, and I just stopped. I'm like, I don't know where we're headed, but we're going deeper and deeper, and I just stopped. I said, Anin, I don't like it. And he stopped, and he turned around, and he says, no, it's okay. Your sons are my sons. And so he says, this store right here, this is my store. And I said, okay. It was like another 15 paces. And so we walk in, and it's like completely different than anything outside. It's immaculate inside and nice, and there's carpet, and it's all clean, and it was nice, right, Joel? It was nice. And so he breathed a sigh of relief, and we found what we needed, and then we went out. I said, Anin, I've got to go, because they wanted to show us stuff on the basement floor or something like that, and I probably shouldn't have gone to the basement anyway. But anyway, I said, we've got to go. We've got to meet the van, and we've got to get back over to where we were, and I don't know how to get out of here. He says, okay, I'll lead you. Come. And so he started hustling, and we started following him. And when we got to the street, we were in a different place. We weren't in the underpass place. We were in the middle of the busy street, and there was no crosswalk. And there's it's 2 lanes of traffic, but the way they drive over there's 3 lanes of cars going this way and 3 lanes of cars going that way, and nobody's stopping. Well, he just runs out there, and he puts his hands up, and all the cars stop, and they're honking at him, and we all just run across. And he says, you recognize that area over there? We're like, yeah, I got it. Thank you, Anin. I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And so here's this guy, Anin. I remember because of his hospitality, and we didn't get killed in the valley of the shadow of death. And he kept reassuring us the whole time. And in this strange way, we saw Jesus in Anin because he was trying to serve us, and he was going to look out for us. So that was another way we saw the hospitality.
And sometimes we just have to trust blindly, know that someone else knows more than what we do.
And Pastor Tom's never going to give me a group to take through Delhi again, probably.
That's right. All right. So, Tobi, I'm going to ask a question that maybe you're going to answer for us. Will you do this? Everyone else that has come up here has shared about food that they've enjoyed. Did you enjoy the food that we ate while we were over there?
All of it.
All of it. There wasn't anything that you didn't like. You liked that food?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite food?
Cake.
Which cake?
The one from Amber's birthday.
Oh, because we had a big celebration. Grandma and Grandpa got to celebrate granddaughter's birthday, so that was pretty special, pretty exciting.
Because there were so many people, she had to have multiple birthday cakes. It was kind of cool.
Now, something I would like to share, and we'll see if Toby will take over the story or not, that has to do with food, but also just with some of the plant stuff around. When we were there at Miss Amy's family's property, I'm not sure how many acres it is, but behind the house and behind the kitchen area, the outdoor kitchen, there is a rubber tree plantation. And I'm not sure how many trees there are, but they have a path that goes to the woods. And it might have been Sunday, I don't remember which day it was. I know that there were a group of us that went on a walk through this path, through the woods. And Miss Amy was our tour guide and pointed out some different things, and we were able to ask her questions. And even about the rubber trees, which is fascinating. I'm not gonna, that's another time. Go visit with actually maybe Pastor Tom. But the two of them about the rubber trees and how all of that process works. But while we were walking, some of the plants that were pointed out to us were some of the things that grow and that we eat in different ways. And one of the things, so we talked about tea, but one of the specialties, and I forget what it's called. Simpry tea. It's from a plant. And a tree is a plant, correct? Thank you. A big plant, but a plant nonetheless.
Welcome to biology class.
And in the tree, it drops nuts.
It's almost like a small melon. It's a fruit.
It's on a tree, not a vine.
It's a fruit, though.
Okay. Everybody concur with this. But Toby, what were you doing when you were seeing those? Because you kept running to Miss Amy and asking her questions.
I was picking all of the fruits up
Why?
because they look good.
What did you keep asking Miss Amy about them?
If they were edible,
He picked lots of things and asked. He would bring them to Miss Amy and ask if they were edible and what they were for. But he found some of these nuts, and I think, Michelle, were you picking them up too, or was it?
He made me carry them.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. That was very kind of you. But he found those pods. He wanted to be able to stay there and help produce his own tea. He wanted to go through the process and learn how to do it because they do it themselves there on the property. Because they have mango trees on property, jackfruit trees, yeah. They have pineapple bushes. There were even baby pineapples on them. But Toby very much was fascinated with just the local foods, banana trees around, and mango, yeah, wrong season.
Coconut.
Yeah, coconut. Anyway, but that was, for Toby, he really enjoyed the foods that were right hands-on, that they were growing there, even though we weren't able necessarily to process everything like he would have liked to.
So you were talking about favorite foods, and this is probably no big deal for some of you guys who have grown up in tropical places, but this is the first time I've had tree-ripened bananas, because I'm a northern boy, and I grew up where there was snow and things like that, and I'm telling you what, tree-ripened bananas are the way to go. Those, I think, were almost my favorite food that I had while I was there. It's nothing like these green things they ship to the United States and call bananas. But then the other favorite food I had, sorry, were you going to say something about bananas?
Yeah, I was just going to say with the banana, something that I found interesting. Frequently at meals, we had more than one kind of banana. And when we're here, you can see multiple kinds of bananas. Sometimes in the store, though, when I was growing up, you just cheat a banana, that was it. That's the bananas that you always saw. But it reminds me, seeing the bananas and the different kinds of bananas, even in the market, it reminded of apples, because here in the States, we have lots of kinds of apples. And, I mean, orchards are constantly developing more and more varieties of apples. So the bananas remind me of that because there was such a variety of things.
I was just going to say, and I think maybe somebody else called this their favorite too, but one night when we were done working, Miss Amy, not Miss Amy, Miss Annie, Amy's sister, and I'll just say, definitely saw Jesus in Miss Annie. She was so gracious, so thankful, so caring. Probably one of the most sweetest and generous people I've met in my life. But we were going back to the main supper, but before we did, she brought us out a snack that she'd made. You know, it was fried pakoras and chutney sauce. And I'm telling you, when you care, when you love, your love comes out in your food. I'm convinced of it. So anyway, those were amazing, and they had her love stamp all over them. But all the foods were good. So I think the same thing actually happened with the people that were preparing food with Amy's parents' family. So that there's people that helped them, and they all loved us. They were all very gracious to us, and you could tell they felt a joy in serving. In fact, there was several times we heard them say, various people there, that it didn't feel right having the Americans come and work, that we were their guests, and that we should not be working. They should just be serving us. And we thought we were getting served more than we've gotten served in a long time. But it was super humbling, I guess.
So I'm going to ask a question that we'll see if I get the same answer that I got earlier. But what was the biggest challenge, mentally, internally, but really, what was it, even challenging your faith, that you experienced while we were there?
While you're thinking, Toby, I'll go. Two things that kind of combine. Probably some of you guys know I'm an introvert, and I have personal space, and there's no such thing as personal space in India. You go out in crowds, and everybody jumbles in together, and there's like nobody ever contemplated personal space. And while at the same time everybody's gracious and generous and selfless, not when it comes to lines. It's first come, first serve, and you horn your way in, and you fight and kick and scream and whatever you have to do to get in there. And so I stood in line waiting, and I'm like, nobody's letting me in. And I finally said, I'm just going to dive in too. And so that was how you had to do it.
That was when we were out and about.
Not in the village. That was more like when we were traveling around. And we were warned about this. Pastor Tom and Amy did a good job preparing us. But I think the thing that challenged my heart and my faith the most is a couple different places where we were. There's these little children that are obviously poor, and they're begging. And I mean, they're like little, right? But they're actually working for an adult, somebody who is using them to make cash. And you know that, but that when they come up to you and you just have to ignore them, it's really hard. In fact, the first night we were out and about in town, there was one little boy that came and he just wrapped his arms around me. And they know how to express puppy dog emotions. And so having this little kid hug me and totally ignore him or turn him away or take him off it challenges my faith, because we're told to reach out to the poor and help the poor and the needy, and yet they're scamming, at least to some degree, and it's really a tough situation.
Something that I thought was, and I don't know, it was an interesting perspective to think about. And I know here, we give you guys a hard time. Okay, when I say we, I'm thinking, staff as a whole, though some of us maybe, give you a harder time than others about those little things that you carry around, and they have your attention all the time. And I found it interesting. yards instead of, on a bed. And they're content. I mean, they're sweeping their floors, they're sweeping their yards. But, by standard of living, you look at that and their standard of living looks much lower than ours. But there were very, very few people that I did not see one of these in their hand. And that was something I just thought it's just an interesting thing that something like this has reached around the world. People don't want to walk away from these. They don't want to put them down, and they become addictive. I mean, the fact that everybody, no matter how much or how little you have, this has become a necessity in our life. Yet, I'm sitting up here right now for Vespers, and I have my phone up here with notes on it, but I don't have my Bible sitting up here beside me. Now, I do have a Bible app on my phone. But this is what it was just so interesting to see and to think. It's like, okay, are they different than us? Are we different than them? I don't know. That was kind of a hard thing. I mean, I don't know that it bothered me. It just has definitely, and it's still just in the back of my mind, something that I'm still processing and thinking about, and being like, okay, does something in my life need to change? Is there something that we've introduced to these other cultures that has it bettered their life? I don't know. Does your phone better your life? I don't know that I want you guys to answer that, but I think that, how can we better someone else's life? I think it's maybe, I don't know, it's interesting. It was just such an odd thing to see. And going along with it, and people have talked about this a little bit, is the selfies. And my perspective on selfies was different maybe than some other people in our group. Very much different than Tobi's. This dear little guy was asked for selfies just about everywhere we went and didn't always appreciate it.
I think he was the only little boy they'd ever seen with blonde curly hair, and so everybody wanted a selfie with him, and he kind of got done with that after the first one.
And pretty much if someone asked me for a selfie, I said yes. This is not just in the church community, even when we were in town, until we were with the tour guide, and the tour guide said, no selfies. If someone else asks, tell them no. You can be rude about it.
But that was in a tourist location. Where we first really encountered this was at the church. But then also in the first couple stores we stopped at in the midweek trip to town. But it seemed like Dannia was the target. They really wanted selfies with Dannia.
I think it's just because I said yes, and all it took was saying yes, and I'm standing there getting a selfie with one person, you've got 5 people that are like, ooh, we want one too, and that, I think that's kind of how it happened.
And they'd come up and get right up to her like they're her best friend. I mean, really, with a smile on their face. It was great.
It was great, actually. All right. A couple of stories I would like to share. Yes. It definitely, it did slow us down a little bit when I let people take pictures, but it sure made me smile. And it made them smile. So we were there to put smiles on people's faces, no matter where we were, I decided. We have some pictures and videos, if they will work for us. And I don't know that they're going to be in particular order. Pastor Tom, before we left, he said, I think it would be good if we had someone with an international driver's license. And so he asked all of the adults, if we were willing. I said, me, I'll do it. And so I did. I went and got my international driver's license before we left for India, which was very exciting. And it's good for a year. So if any of you are going on a trip somewhere and you need a driver to come along, let me know. Pay for my ticket, all of that stuff, and I'll come with you and I'll be your driver. Anyway, so that was fun. I did get to drive. I'm not the only one. There were people who drove who did not have their international driver's license.
And
they
they actually told us, so I think it was Miss Amy's younger brother said, you can do pretty much anywhere, anything you want in the village, driving wise. This is a 10-year-old can drive and nobody's going to really bother you at all, so.
Will volume work with that one? Oh, that's really sad. I would actually, I might be able to put it with on the microphone and play it on my phone. So we had other people talking about the kids. The Lion Day was such a fun day because their craft was a mask, so of course they're wearing it. I got all of these kids to roar for me, so they were practicing being lions, and it was so adorable, and they had so much fun with it, and so did we. I know I'm not the only one because other people were talking about it. Oh, the next one, yeah, if the volume isn't working, so if you just pause it here for a minute, this is so sad because every single morning, so just like the kids standing up and saying, "Good morning, teacher," which was amazing, at their assembly every morning, they ended assembly with a group prayer. So here, you know what, maybe we'll just end. You know what, remind me, we're gonna end our Vespers with their morning prayer, okay? Remind me, don't let me forget that. So anyway, we're gonna do that. So we'll just demonstrate this one for you. You'll participate with me, and it was amazing. I loved being with the kids. Pedro, what time is it? 34. Okay, thank you. He was checking the time. This is the market. Joel and Lucia and I got to go be pack mules, basically. No, it was a great experience, but we were asked specifically to help carry food back to the vehicle. But we were going to buy food at the market for the week for all of us. And bright colors, but spread out underneath these tents, these bamboo structures were all built, and the bamboo stayed there when you drove down the road during the week. They were all there, but on market day they would put covers up, throw tarps down on the ground, and throw the food down on the tarps, and they'd be sitting in there, and you'd go and choose the food that you wanted, and they'd weigh it and tell you how much it was. Anyway, it was bright, colorful, and interesting. So this is Tobi, and I don't have names. His little guy. So Tobi decided, when he saw everyone else having their own child, Tobi decided he wanted to sponsor his own kid. And I sat him down and I talked to him. I said, "Do you know what that means? You're going to be paying with your own money." And Tobi, decided to sponsor one of the kids over there all by himself. And
So it costs about $100
which Pastor Tom has told us before.
for one student for 1 year, one school year. So that just, I mean, that tells you Tobi's commitment. It also tells you how far the dollar can go over there.
Absolutely. And they've talked about this, but bucket brigades is a real thing. Concrete just being passed back and forth in just a little tiny bucket at a time, being dumped in a hole until that hole is full. And what was our number? You know what, I probably still have it written down. Do you remember the number off the top of your head? 125
Bowls of concrete per hole.
Concrete per hole, roughly, give or take a few. Yeah, so that's a lot of concrete being passed back and forth and back and forth. This is the last Sabbath, the hill that we hiked up, all of the stairs that we hiked up, and then we had to go back down those. But at the top, it was so neat what the people who own the property, what they built up there. it reminded me of like a little Swiss Family Robinson village or something like that. These little huts out of bamboo and woven grasses and thatch on the roofs. It was, and the view was beautiful.
It's kind of a lookout is what it's, there's like a stairway trail that goes up, and they built it for people to go up there and hike. And the idea is you pay a small fee when you get to them.
And you can just keep flipping through. That's just one of the other ones close up. Tobi, do you want to tell us who that is?
Me and Matthias.
Matthias happens to be a cousin to Michelle and Amber.
Yeah. Miss Annie and Mr. Lennon, which you've heard both of their names, are the ones who run the school that we were at, and that's their youngest son. And he is 2 years, he's 7 years old, right? So 2 years younger than Tobi, but the two of them had a great time running around, playing together, sometimes being useful together, but it was fun, pestering Wendy.
Tobi, do you have any favorite memories with Matthias?
Jumping off a roof into sand.
I knew that's what he was going to say. So they have this pile of sand that was used for mixing mortar with, and part of the school was still under construction. They're adding on to it bit by bit, and so they leave rebar sticking out of the concrete walls and roofs and things so that they can just continue on and keep adding to it. Well, this one part where there was ongoing construction, they could walk out on it, and it was first floor roof, and they could jump off of that roof onto the pile of sand. And of course, that was very appealing for two little boys. So that's the memory.
Yep. So I'm trying to get a picture of the monkey back there. This is at the Taj Mahal. This was fascinating. We all had to go through security to get into the Taj Mahal, and one of the things that you cannot take in is food. And when we went through on the ladies' side, because the gentlemen and the ladies are separated, and all your bags are pulled, they go through, a little machine, X-ray machine, and then there's ladies sitting there pulling things out, and there's a stack of food sitting next to them. And literally, they're just pulling stuff out of people's bags, and they're making a pile. Bananas, bags of chips, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, these monkeys, literally, they're climbing down. They walk over through the people, up on the table, grabbed bananas, and got back down and went over and sitting there eating bananas. I was really surprised, so an interesting thing. I think maybe the last, okay, so more pictures. Look at the motorcycles and the traffic. I think this is maybe 3 lanes, but I'm pretty sure we had 5 lanes plus all of the motorcycles on the side.
And
traffic was crazy.
in this same traffic jam, there was a scooter with 2 guys on it, and they were holding a large screen LCD, flat screen TV, like behind their legs on the scooter. So it's sticking out wider than the scooter through this heavy traffic.
Yeah, crazy stuff. What I'm hoping to get to, but again, you're not going to be able to hear it since the sound isn't working. I have a video when we were riding on the rickshaws, and Tobi was a little bit nervous, and I was a little bit nervous when we get started on the rickshaw. Okay, you can tell them that.
So should we go to the next picture then?
Yeah, they can. So, Tobi, are you going to say that? So Tobi just looked over and said he was a little nervous. He was a lot nervous. Because we're all getting separated. We're not a big group anymore. And so 2 people in each rickshaw, except for Joel's, because there were 2 of you and our tour guide. And Joel's pretty sure that he had the oldest driver. And remember, they're pedaling bicycles. And Joel, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to tell the keeper story. Joel hopped off of his to help push his rickshaw with the rickshaw driver when they were going up the hill. So pretty crazy stuff. Hannah's taking us out. But when we were getting ready to go, right, our tour gave directions to all of the drivers, and we had 9 rickshaws, I think, and our tour guide was giving directions. And I'm listening, I'm paying attention, you know, I want to know what's going on also. And there are, of course, you know, 2 people hopping on all of them. Well, I have Tobi with me, so Tobi and I are riding on a rickshaw together, the 2 of us. And, you know, I'm a mama bear sometimes, and we're over here in a strange place. I'm going to protect my kid, right? I'm going to look out for him. Don't mess with my kid, I will mess with you. True story. But, as we are all loading up, I think that our rickshaw, we were like kind of beside each other when they were parked. And Tobi and I climb into our rickshaw, and I think that there's like 2 rickshaws in front of us, but we're to the side. We're not in a straight line. And as soon as Tobi and I are in, and things seem to be settled, our driver takes off. And when our tour guide was with them, he had been showing them this is the direction to go. And there's a road that he was pointing. He's pointing that way. There was a destination in mind. I didn't know where the destination was, but we were going somewhere. And we were all going to the same place, but our driver just went straight. And I'm like, where's the rest of our group going? Because they were being pointed that direction. And I tapped the driver, and I said, where are you going? Everyone else is back there. He's like, don't worry, they follow. And I'm like, are you sure? Well, I turned around, sure enough, they were following us. I felt better that they had not gone a different direction, but my brain was saying, this is not the directions that you were given, so we're not going the right way. I think our driver had just decided there was a better route to take to get to the destination. We still made it to our destination. But I think sometimes when we come to God and we ask for directions, or we ask Him to be the driver or to take control, sometimes we're like, this is where we're going. We know what the directions are supposed to be, and why are you going this way to get there when that was supposed to be the way? And even on a mission trip, there are steps and stages, whether it's visas at the beginning when we're saying, God, why isn't this going the way it's supposed to? Or when we're there and people are snarling at each other because, you know, things aren't going exactly the way one person or another person thinks they should be. Sometimes it's easy to get negative when you're there. And being able to stay positive and say, what is the purpose that we're here for? And who do we really want to be in control? And I think one of the things for me was, it's okay to give up control and allow God to truly be the lead. It's also okay for things not to be perfectly coordinated and smooth. We'll figure it out as we go along, and whatever needs to happen is going to happen. And I think that's all important stuff that we needed to have. And we need to have prayer.
And I would just say one of the big things, takeaways that I would just reemphasize is that a lot of these people had almost nothing. Even the people who are the wealthiest over there don't have a lot of things. You know, they might have a large concrete house, but they still don't have a lot of things. And they're some of the most generous people I've ever met in my life, some of the most hospitable and gracious people I've ever met in my life. And, you know, sometimes we get wooed to sleep by what they would consider wealth, right? And we don't need most of the things that we have, and sometimes we're not very grateful. And I think that was one of the key takeaways that I think that I gained from the trip, is to be grateful and be generous and care about others.
And if all of you would stand with me. And bow your heads.
I don't know the words, Dannia.
There are no sir.
Okay.
And close your eyes and repeat after me. Dear Jesus, thank you for loving us. Thank you that Sabbath is here. Please be in our hearts. to seek you during the Sabbath hours.
Help us to seek you during the Sabbath hours.
Help us to be kind to our friends.
Help us to be kind to our friends.
And to be thoughtful in the words that we speak.
And to be thoughtful in the words that we speak.
We love you, Jesus.
We love you, Jesus.
Amen.
Amen.
Song, yes, no?
Thank you, guys.
Hello, today I'll be singing In Christ Alone. Okay. In Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song, this cornerstone, this solid ground, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are stilled, when striving cease. My comforter, my all in all, here in the love of Christ I stand. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless babe, this gift of love and righteousness, scorned by the ones he came to save, till on that cross as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied, for every sin on him was laid. Here in the death of Christ I live, there in the ground his body lay, light of the world by darkness slain, then bursting forth in glorious day, up from the grave he rose again, and as he stands in victory, since curse has lost its grip on me, for I am his and he is mine, bought with the precious blood of Christ. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me, from life's first cry to final breath. Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand, till he returns and calls me